What's going on, y'all? I want to welcome y'all back to the Raw Report. Today's guest we gonna have on here, Coach Cannon, and he gonna walk us through the difference between progression over perfection. Now that might sound something simple, but I think it's huge because a lot of us are trying to be perfect and we never get going to begin with. So progression, y'all hear me talk about it all the time, the small steps. But we ain't gonna. This ain't about me talking. We go get Coach Cannon on here so he can tell us what the real is about progression over perfection. So with no further ado, welcome in Coach Cannon. What's going on, Coach Cannon?
First of all, thank you for having me, Coach. Thank you,
Oh
thank you,
man,
thank you.
I appreciate it. The honor is mine, bro. Because you be out here giving out this knowledge. We gotta get the folks to introduce them to you so they know that you the real deal when they see you coming.
Mm.
So my first question to you would be, can you share a defining moment in your life when you realize the value of progression over perfection?
Hmm. Wow. But you come off hitting
Bro, this
early.
raw report, man. These folks ain't got time. Look, they been running in circles forever. They want that juice.
Ah man, wow. I think that there have been several things that I could kind of chop it up about when I kind of sort of started realizing about how it's about progression, not about perfection. And so I think for me, a time for me would definitely be when I got on my journey as far as my healing journey, because a lot of things for me, as being a veteran and having, being diagnosed with PTSD and different things of that nature like that. The military always kind of sort of taught us, you want to have things right, you want to have things in order. And for me, my journey has not been linear. I've had to take the proverbial, you get to take one step forward, you got to take two or three steps back. And so for me, I used to be real hard on myself doing my change and doing my journey because I felt like I wasn't getting things perfect. And so that's when the things dawned on me that, perfection is something that I would never achieve. Perfection is a lofty thing. And so when I started dialing it back and start realizing that I can start setting measurable goals. And so it was about my progress, not about me being perfect, not only in anybody else's eyes, but in my eyes is most important. And that was the most important deal for me.
So, would you agree that perfection per se is a myth? Because
Um,
there's only one true perfect person. That's God, Jesus. Like, so I'm asking that because when you said that, it made me think. Most people are chasing perfection, and is it not? Is it even a real thing?
I think that as far as it depends on the metrics that you're measuring by. I think that by object standards or things that we can produce, I think that there is a measure of perfection that we can have. But in regards to our human activity, I think that that is setting us up for failure. Anytime that we really feel that perfection is the goal, we are going to fall short. There's going to be something, and I feel that perfection is also subjective. What somebody else may feel like, hey, I'm doing perfect, when somebody else put eyes on it, it'd be like there's some things you can improve on. And
Right.
so when we start doing these type of deals, I don't think that perfection should be what the aiming point. I think that excellence should be the aiming point versus perfection. And so
That's what I.
when we start looking at progression, what am I doing? What small steps? What are the steps that I'm taking towards this mark of excellence? Because I can hit excellence and I can keep on redefining excellence, but I can't redefine perfection.
I love that you said that because that's exactly what I was going to say.
Mm.
Excellence, excellence over perfection. Because a lot of they got us chasing perfection, but when
Hmm.
you chase excellence, even when you get to excellence, you can always dust it off and make it a little bit better. Then
Come
dust it
on.
off and make it a little bit better. So I love that, bro. That's good.
Come on, bro.
So look, what does progression mean to you personally and professionally?
Hmm. Progression means to me personally is that I am making moves. It's me understanding that the things that has occurred in my past, the things, the activities, the decisions, the actions of my past, I can't do anything to alter that. I can't do anything to fix that. But what I can do, progression gives me direction. And for me, having direction is most important and clear. And so a lot of times I feel that we get stuck, we get stagnant, and we end up becoming suffering in the positions and places that we find ourselves in. And so for me, progression is me to be able to move forward, me to have something that I have my eyes on, that I am not suffering, that I'm not stuck, that I'm not stagnant, that I'm not stalled, and I'm not sick of where I'm at. And so I have that I'm moving, that I am having action and activity towards something that is purposeful. And so for me personally, it's me just taking steps, whether it's huge leaps or if it's just an inch, regardless of the fact of a matter. If it's an inch, I still fell forward. If it's a huge leap, I took a quantum leap forward. But regardless of the fact is, I am making some sort of steps instead of staying the same individual, instead of having the same mindset and still dealing with the same thing. I'm always inching, whether it's an inch or whether it's a leap. I gotta go forward, bro.
And I love that you just said that, because the biggest thing that I try to tell people is, if you read one book page of a book today, you made some growth forward. So,
Facts.
like you said, whether it's an inch or a big, see, we are chasing, most of us chase these big wins. And if you get a big win today and you don't get another one for 7 years, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be in depression. But if you're chasing those inches, and then you might get a good inch, but you still the next day just an inch on top of that, you end up being like more powerful than you can even. You just like you gaining power, like it compounds, like the stock market. So I said that to say, when you start to navigate the pressure of society, that society has self-imposed us on perfection, how do you stay focused on your progression?
Hmm. Great question. And I think the distinction in what you said was society and you. Society paints a picture. Society is a macro, which is the big picture. I feel that it's important to focus on the micro, which are the things that I can control.
Yes.
And I think that things that I can control, I heard somebody a whole lot smarter than me say you want to control the controllables. And
Yes.
so for me, in order for me to really have progression, I have to be able to do the things. I have to put in the right inputs. Those inputs are daily inputs. And to be quite honest, sometimes those inputs are minute to minute inputs. And on a tough day, it's on a second to second input. And so when I'm doing these things, for me, is for me to have my markers, my goals, my milestones, the things that I want to get to. Those are the things that I'm focused on, because outside of me being able to control myself, everything else is I can't control it. And so for me, is to be able to have some things that I want to work towards and begin working towards those things. And so I believe it was Earl Nightingale. He said that a success is, God, I just lost my train of thought. He said that success, anyone that has something that they're work towards, there's considered to be a success. And so for me, just having something to work towards, that I am putting my time, my energy, my efforts towards, those are the things that brings me fulfillment. And that's how I stay focused on what I want to get done versus the societal pressure. Because for me, I had been so caught up in an image and a title of what everybody else have given me a title or the image I wanted people to see, that it disconnected me from my authenticity. And so
Wow.
at this point in my life now, it is not about anybody else. It's about the things that bring me fulfillment, the things that bring me joy, the things that I am lining up with purpose, that I'm aligning up with God's will and God's word for canon, not what the consumers, not about what the community, but it's
Wow.
about what the vision that what God has given me.
I love that, bro. I love that. Everything you just said just hit me so deep. And
Mm.
I wanna, I'm gonna ask you. So in that chase of that, because I loved everything you just said. Was there some times in your pursuit of the progression that held you back? That tried to hold you back? Because it didn't hold you back, because you're still doing your thing. But talk to us about things that try to come in this way. Like, because I know for a fact it's a mindset that you had to overcome to
Hmm.
be able to start walking like that. So what did you have to fight to get to that?
Wow, that's and I think, and thank you for asking that question, because I think a lot of times when people are having these conversations, it's always about the wins, wins, the wins, the wins, the wins. But the actual fact of the matter is, before you can get to the wins, there's some battles that are fought behind the scenes. Um, and to me, this is my mindset. It's the things that we do behind the scenes that qualify us so that when we are seen, we are applauded. And so
Mm,
for me, my battles was people pleasing. Growing up in the environment that I grew up in, both my parents are pastors, and so that was one of the things that real religiosity, that's what I call it, that
I
type of
got you.
feel where you want to be um, appeased and want everybody to say you got things a certain way, you got to have a certain look, port and polished and all of that right there. And that was my mindset. And so that transitioned also into the military with me as well, wanting to, you want to gain rank and different things that nature like that. So you take on personas and perspectives of people that's really not yours. And so when you find yourself people pleasing, you may be pleasing them, but you're depleting yourself.
Ooh.
And so I had to come up with the fact of the matter is that it's more about me than me depleting me to make you feel good than for me to receive your applause and your response. Because at the end of the day, I still got to look in the mirror. When I'm in your face, that applause is good, but the applause goes away when I'm by myself. And so I
Ooh.
have to be the type of individual, for me living authentically, is that I can't deplete me trying to make you feel better. And so that was one of the biggest things for me. That was a huge hindrance for me as well. Another thing that was a blocker for me was a lack of integrity. And that's something that I had to start walking through, because you hear about integrity. Oh, I got integrity. It's easy to say it, but the actions don't line up with what you're saying. And
Right.
so with me, I had to be that consistent person. And so just building those type of barriers, people pleasing and having that integrity. Because when you look at the word integrity, when you break it down to its original words, you realize that it means whole, no missing parts. And so that's where I need to be. I need to be a whole individual wherever you see me at, whether it's behind the pulpit or if you see me in church or you see me in the streets. I have to be the same whole individual.
Mm.
And wherever you get it at, that's where I'm going to be in whatever conversation. And so just having that level of understanding who I am. And I think that a lot of times we take on ideas and philosophies and ideologies that are foreign to us, but we adopt them so that we can adapt to our environment.
If you don't mind me asking,
Hmm.
how long was your journey to find yourself?
Bro, I'm still on the journey, and that's the beauty of it for me, because I'm still discovering every day. I'm that Rick Ross just popped in my head. Every day I'm hustling. I'm hustling to find myself. I'm hustling to unearth, to discover, to uncover the things about Teron Cannon that has been buried beneath a whole lot of minutia, that's been buried beneath a whole lot of activities that haven't been productive for me. And so I'm still finding myself. And each day that I find myself, the more I appreciate myself. And the more I start learning, the more I start inputting into me and start making myself better. I think it's a lifelong journey. And I think that the more we live, the more we should be finding, and not only finding, but refining ourselves. Because just like everything that we have, that we as consumers have, there may be one version of it, but before it gets to us, it's being refined. And so for me, it's not only just finding me, it's refining me as well, so that I can become better and I can keep progressing throughout my life.
Oh, that's a great answer. When I tell you that's a great answer, I asked it because I was thinking of my audience, because listening to your story and like thinking like they're gonna be like, oh, well, he just changed overnight. Or go change. And like you said, I'm still going through it. I'm still learning every day to define myself. So that's to tell you guys, y'all can still find yourself. You got to start somewhere and start to move forward. This is a lifelong journey. And he didn't tell you no lies because God's still working on me.
Who was it that said it? Steve Harvey, don't trip. He ain't through with me yet.
I promise you, don't look at age because he working on me, and
Facts.
I'm trying my best because I'm out here trying to spread God's words the best way I can. I like having Coach Cannon on to try to help you guys work through this stuff because it's a lot of us that's trying to help you guys, but y'all are not listening. Y'all get still listening to all this watered down talk. Some of us can actually lived. We've been through
Mm,
some things. We can teach you some things. So
mhm.
I'm just off what you were saying, I want to say, what do you do to celebrate your small wins along your growth journey?
That's so good, bro. Great question. And you probably gonna hear me say this all throughout this interview because you're asking great questions. And so, whenever you ask one, I'm gonna thank you for sharing that.
Nah,
And
I
when you
appreciate
said that, it helped me because during my time in the Army, I became a master resilience trainer.
it.
And
Okay.
so, what master resilience is a course that you go through, and they teach you all about resilience and how you can not only help yourself, but how you can help soldiers get through difficult situations and things of that nature, not only in life but in the battlefield also. And so, one of the things that we learned in the master resilience training is called hunt the good stuff. And so, what hunt the good stuff is that every day you hunt for something good. You wake up in the morning and you write down three, or at the end of the day, or in the morning, you write down three things that you're grateful for. And so, what it is teaching you gratitude. And for me, gratitude is my energy, not just energy as in what we see and everything else like that, but it's my energy. It's inside of me. And when I begin to hunt that good stuff in the morning, three things that I'm grateful for. And so sometimes it's something simple as just me opening up my three presents, my two eyes and my mouth to say thank you. I'm thankful for that. And so as you go through your day, at the end of the day, you also find three things that you're grateful for as well, three things that happen throughout your day. And so when you do that, you ask yourself these questions: what happened? Why did it happen? And how can I make this happen again? And so when I do those things, that's what helps me celebrate my small wins. Because a lot of times we get so caught up, like you mentioned earlier, we want the huge, tremendous things that we overlook those small things. And it's the small things that really begin to accumulate over time. And so that's what helps me to practicing gratitude is my go-to, regardless of what I am. My wife will tell you, my kids will tell you, I try to be one of the most grateful individuals in the world, because if I'm not, I find myself spiraling. And so for me, I have to intentionally practice gratitude. And that's what helps me to celebrate my small wins along the way, bro.
I love that because off of what you just said, I'm gonna give you two things. Of what you just said, that means you always have to be present to practice gratitude.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love that because okay, like I said, God working on me. I got to get present all the time to show my gratitude all the time. But I got to tell you this one before we move on. Y'all already know this, the Raw Report, Resilience Against the World. He just spoke on that. Bro, that's going on my wall somewhere. Hunt the good stuff. I'm just letting you know it's going on there. I got to hunt the good. Hunt the good stuff. That
Thanks.
was a bar.
Man, listen, I'm telling you, because that changed my thinking. Because um and maybe you got to excuse me, I go on rabbit holes, but when you
No,
said
no, no.
that,
Let's
my
go.
mind
Let's
just
go. This the Raw Report, bro. We in there. Let's go. I'm in there with you.
God, my mind, when you said that, my mind automatically began to think about, why do we hunt? Because when we actually hunt, we're hunting something so that we can gain a supply of something that can help us. Anytime a hunter goes out for food, it's because he needs food. And so for me, my mind has been conditioned. My mind is was wired, let me rephrase that, to be negative, to find the things that are wrong. And so when we just think about human nature, that's how we survived anyway. Before we knew what danger was, our brain is wired to find negativity because it shows us the things to avoid. And so, even in today's context, we may not have to be dealing with huge beasts that are maybe coming after us trying to eat us, but yet and still, there still be some negativity in our environment and in our life. And so, for me, to rewire my thinking, for me, it's like I got to hunt something good as opposed to trying to find something negative. Because it's easy to point out a flaw. That's jacked up. That's wrong. You can do this better. You can do that better. But it takes a higher level of thinking. God, we've been programmed to work hard, but we have to learn how to work higher. And so when we think higher, we start looking at things differently. And so for me, that's what it's all about. That mindset of I'm hunting something better. I'm intentionally making my mind look for something good that I can celebrate. Because if not, the pessimism will kick in. If not, the picking out all the negativity will kick in. And so it's that switch for me, those little subtle switches that help me survive and keep going, bro.
And like you just said, intentional. All this, everything we do is intentional. We have to be intentional. And I agree with you 100% because if I'm not intentional, I wouldn't even be here talking to you right now. I have to be. So look, that's one of the main key things I want y'all to at least get from what he just said, because I know it's gonna be some more good stuff. He just said intentional. And be intentional about your daily goings. Intentionally make your bed. Intentionally tell your wife you love her. Intentionally. It's little stuff, because when you forget the little stuff, it can intentionally go the opposite way.
Ooh, that's a bar.
Here go the. So my next question to you would be: are there any specific habits or systems that you put into place to measure your progress going whatever you do? Have you put anything to measure it so you know you're hitting the mark as you're going forward?
Bro, that's hilarious because that's something that I have been working towards and just redefining what that is for me. And so, when I was in school, elementary, middle, high school, it was something that I don't know if you guys had it, but it was something that was called a progress report. And so what that progress report was, I used to hate when it came out because it was that midway point between that 4 week, we had 9 week periods. And so that progress report right there, 4.5, right there in between both of them, and it let me know my gauge. And so for me, something that I hated in school is something that I've implemented in my life. And so each week I try to go ahead, I would try to map out my goals. And so midweek, I try to see where I'm at. Did I meet these goals from Sunday to Wednesday? And then when I get to that halfway point and I start seeing where I'm at, different things that nature like that, I know I need to work on these things. These are the things I have to work on. And so as I begin to move forward throughout the rest of the week, I can start making adjustments and changes. And a lot of times I don't like what I see on my progress report, just to be flat out and to be straight up and be honest. Some halfway through, some weeks I'm killing it. Some weeks I'm crushing it, on target, way above, standards high, feeling myself, ooh, we cannon swag on a billion. But then there's other times it's like, man. And so it's that, like you said, that being aware and being intentional with what I'm doing.
How do you motivate yourself in those times when it's low? Because I know that's hard. Hey.
One of our mentors, he say that I remind myself that I'm built for this. I'm built for a time such as this.
All day, every day.
I've got that internal drive. And one of the things I also motivate myself, I remember. All throughout the scriptures, when you look through the word, he constantly tells us to remember. You go back and you pull back those previous victories, those small wins that I've done. I pull out my journal and I read my journal. I read about the things that I've done, these accomplishments. And I start realizing that, even if I haven't done my best this go around, I can always keep regenerating. I can always keep coming back. I can go back to the drawing board. And sometimes it's reevaluating the strategy. Sometimes it's not me. Sometimes the plan was good. I just got to figure out a better way to approach it. And so for me, during those times, sometimes my motivation fizzles out. But that's why I try to stay committed, because when I become committed, that is my emotional attachment, my emotional and mental attachment to whatever it is that I'm going through. And so that's what I tap into right there.
What's so funny and so good about what you just said is you're being built for this. And God don't make no mistakes. So I go off what you just said. When he got us in the storm, I'm supposed to be in the storm. Because If not me, then who? I know I can depend on me. So it's going down. It's going down. I'm
Fact,
right where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there.
fact.
So if it ain't going slow, it ain't. And I think about it like that, but it's a mindset shift. We had to go through a mindset shift to understand
Mhm.
that there is no real setbacks. There's lessons. Learn the lessons so we can get on through the storm. So I love that you just said that. What role do feedback play in your focus on progression?
Feedback is absolutely critical. And
Okay.
I think that how you perceive feedback is the most important thing because when
And from
go
who?
there you go. Because everybody's feedback isn't qualified. Everybody isn't qualified. And I heard somebody, I think I read this or I heard somebody say this the other day. You can't take feedback from people you would take advice from. And so when you and when you look at who's giving you feedback, you have to look at their life, you have to look at their lifestyle. What are you doing? Like, if in order and don't get me wrong, like I can have, and for me, I'm this humble individual. Like I can talk to people, crackheads on the street. I have conversations with them, and I can have conversations with the CEO. A crackhead can teach me something, can bring me insight that can help me change my life, and they've done that. And so, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're not qualified, but what I'm saying is you have to look at the individual and their mindset of why they're giving you this feedback. Sometimes people are giving you feedback to build you up, and you have some people that are giving you feedback to tear you down. And so when you start looking at the qualifying situation, why are you giving me this information? And when I start doing that, I start realizing, and sometimes it may hurt, but I got to get beyond emotions and become effective. And I think that a lot of times when we're dealing with feedback, it may sting a little and it may make us uncomfortable. But for me, it's about growth. And for me to be able to apply it and to see if it's tangible, if it's something that is actually on point with me, if it's going to help me build, I'm all for it. But if it's not, if it's and it's interesting because I did a speech for Toastmasters a few weeks ago, and so the name of the speech was Coach or Critic. And so we
Mhm.
have to realize when people are having conversations with it, are you really trying to coach me? Or are you trying to criticize me? And so if you're trying to criticize me, that's a whole different thing. But if you're trying to coach me, we can build off of that.
That's so good that you just said that. It made me think about this conversation I had last week. I don't necessarily agree with it because I'm still working through it in my mind. But when you said coach or critic, it made me think about this young lady I was talking with, and she said every conversation is a negotiation,
Mm.
coach or critic. And I'm like, I'm still working through it because we had some back and forth, but she made a point, and I'm just trying. Every conversation is a negotiation. So if
Mm.
that being said, you can't. If we negotiate, you can't take feedback from everybody because everybody don't have your best interest in mind. They're thinking about their interests.
Facts.
So you have to take that into accountability when they saying what they saying because some people, like you said, whether it's the CEO or the crackhead, in today's world, everybody got an opinion. I'm talking about I ain't seen one person who don't. And they know everything.
Oh man.
So I'm just saying, you got it. So be careful of the feedback that you get. Just because they said it, let them say what they gonna say. But if you, like you said, if you wouldn't take advice from them, why would you take their feedback? But whatever. How do you balance striving for improvement while accepting where you are right now? How do you balance that?
Mm, that's good. That's good. I think that acceptance is something that I had to learn through therapy.
Okay.
My therapist had to help me. It was a term that she introduced me to, which was radical acceptance. And what radical acceptance is that not necessarily saying that I agree with it. I have to learn to live with it. And so when I learn to live with myself wherever I am at, it gives me something that I can aim and strive towards. And I think that that's most importantly because a lot of times for me, there's been times in my life where I have been, and even now, I'm still not satisfied with where I'm at. And so it's just me understanding, and like the cliche what everybody's saying these days is not just give yourself grace, but to give yourself understanding as well. And understand that my whatever level of thinking that I have been thinking on has gotten me to this point. And it's going to have to take a different level of thinking for me to get to the next point. And so that's what's most important for me to be able to say, okay, I'm accepting where I am, but I'm still working to change it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so it's that hunger, that drive for better, and that drive for progression.
And I agree with you 100%. Like you said, that hunger. That hunger. I don't know if you remember the saying that go. It was on some shirts or something. They had "Stay hungry." That's a real
Yes.
statement. If you're not hungry, what are you doing? Like, I don't care how much you eating, and we ain't talking about food. We talking about hungry. You should like. I see a lot of people, and I don't want to say that they giving. That goes to what I was telling you about. Everybody been chasing these big wins, and because they ain't got no big wins, they done gave up. And all we
Mm,
saying is stay hungry. Just
mm,
stay hungry because it's more out there. But if you're not willing to chase it, you're gonna be getting exactly what you get.
yeah,
And we right
definitely.
now we're talking about progress over perfection. We're not perfection out of the door. We just progress toward excellence. So do you before, do you have any tools or frameworks or techniques or something that you could teach the audience that can help them start to just some progress tools? I don't know, something to help them start to at least think about that thing and start moving forward in some type of way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can definitely give you some tools and some tips. And so for
That's
me, I just this is right off the top. I didn't know we were going to be digging into this tools and tips and all of that, but I can give you my C4 framework. And so with the C4, it really helps. It can have explosive results in your life when you apply the C4, because just like C4 in the military, they use it for demolitions, they use it for barrier entries and things of that nature. And there are some things in our life that we need to get through and that we need to move past. And when we begin to apply these C4 principles, when we stick it to it, run the wire to it, take cover, and shoot that electrical charge to it, we have explosive results. And so I
mm,
think that the first thing that we need to get to, and the first thing would be is for us to get a sense of certainty, bro. We
okay.
have to get certain, because a lot of times we're so wishy-washy out here. We
Okay.
don't know exactly what we want. One day we want to be red, the next day we want to be purple, the next day we want to be clear, the next day we want to be transparent. And so we have to get certain. And unless we get a certain level of certainty, that's one of the hugest issues that I'm seeing with people. They're not certain. They um
Wishy washy, like you
they
said.
wishy-washy. And
No,
so
ain't no
when you
clarity. I
and
agree.
so when you get certain that this is exactly where I want to be going, this is exactly what I want. This is the steps that I'm going to take. This is the individual. This is the goal. This is the level. This is the elevation I want to be at. And so once you have that certainty, the next thing you want to have is clarity. Clear. You need to get clear on what steps do I need to take. Who am I? Where am I at? And why am I like this? And how did I get here? And so
Mm,
you start asking yourself these questions to start getting clear. So you want to get certain, this is the direction I want to head in. Then you want to get clarity, or you want to start getting clear. What is the picture? Sometimes clarity takes time. Sometimes I got to sit down and clear my calendar, clear my schedule, clear my sound. Nothing else. I'm just gonna sit here till I get clear. I'm gonna think these things out. If I got to grab a pen and a piece of paper, I gotta write my thoughts out. Whatever it is, your way of getting clarity is most important. And so once you begin to get clarity, the next one you got to have is commitment. And so you
mm,
want to get committed. You want to have a connection between you and the direction that you want to start working towards. This is the times you're going to be focusing. Some people call it visualizing. These are the things that you want to be thinking through and thinking about. And once you start working towards the clarity, and once you start getting committed, oh God, I forgot my last C. The last C, when we
okay.
start working towards that,
Take take your time, bro.
create. And so then you want to start taking action. So you want to start creating what it is that you want to be working towards. A lot of times we have great things in us, but we never start the creative process. We just allow things to stay in our head. We try to remember. Sometimes we forget it. Sometimes we push it to the side. We discard it. But when we start doing these things and we start taking the time to start understanding, I need to be certain, I need to get clarity, then I need to get committed, then I'm gonna start creating. And this is the action. And so we just don't want to sit down idly and pray and hope that please change things. God gave us the power to have dominion over the area and the places that we're in. And He's waiting on us to take action. We praying, Lord, do this, do that. God's like, bro, when you gonna put the work in? And so that right there for me, that C4 framework is extremely powerful and extremely helpful for me to start gaining progress.
Man, I love that whole process. Certainty, clarity, commitment, and creativity. What we seem to forget about, that God was a creator. He intended for us to create. And when you say work, see, everybody assume work means going to a job. No, work means work. You have a thought. He putting thoughts in your mind to do some work, and you don't even want to do that. Like this C4 framework he just gave y'all, y'all got to use that because that's fire. Like fire. Use that. And at the end, he gonna give y'all this stuff where y'all can tap in with him so he can work with you through the framework. But before that, let me ask you this: what mindset did you have to take on or taught you about patience and self-compassion to be able to progress? Was it growing up in the church? I don't know. I'm just saying because something had to make you start to self-reflect on this. So it had to be a mindset shift somewhere.
I think that church is my foundation, my relationship with God and my belief in the Bible and the scriptures and me believing in Christ. That is my foundation. But the true mindset shift for me was for me to getting into therapy, bro. Because a lot of times, even though I can say that God, the Bible, church, all of that was good, but when you start looking at some of those people that go up in those situations, you end up picking up things that are not necessarily beneficial for you. And so I had to unlearn a lot of things and ideas and thought processes from those time periods that was not serving me any well. And so it was that mindset shift for me, is that I can be a believer, but I also can have therapy. I can trust God, but I can also talk about what's going on in here. And I can also learn different approaches to live my life better. And so for me, some of it was unlearning, and some of it was relearning, and some of it was learning better. And all of those three has really helped me to keep moving and to make progress on my journey, because in order for progress to be true, it has to have a starting point.
That's real. Yes, sir. I agree.
And once you know where your starting point is, and once you start having progress, when you take a stop and you realize that you look back and you see how far you've came,
ain't no going back.
Hello, somebody.
Yeah. Hey, look, that peace that surpasses all understanding, I can talk to that. So I know you understand what you're talking about. Look, oh no, for what? For what? Ain't nothing back there. Here go the crazy part about what you just said. I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like this off what you just said. What people don't realize in the church, and I'm not knocking the church because the church is needed, your spiritual growth is yours and God's. It has nothing to do with the people in church. And a lot of people has attached their spiritual growth to what they've learned in the church, what they heard. That ain't got nothing to do with you going to pray yourself and talk to God yourself in your journey.
Come on.
So, bro, hey, that was fire right there. That just hit me right there. How do you've been speaking on it, but I gotta ask it because I wrote it down. How do your ideas of progress align with your larger purpose, and your spiritual journey? Because I know it's aligned, but I want you to say it for the people.
I think that for me, my journey of progress is knowing that when I look in the scriptures and when I look at the people that I admire, they've always been on a constant evolution. And that's what helps me. It helps me to realize that I'm going through something that I'm constantly changing. A great example of that would be the number 8 Kobe versus the number 24 Kobe. A great example of that would be the 23 Jordan versus the 45 Jordan. And so when we start looking at these individuals, how they grew and how they progressed throughout their career, you start realizing that there's a learning curve. And so for me, it's for me to be able to understand that my curve is going to be different from everybody else's curve. And so it's going to help me to keep moving forward, for me to keep striving to be a better individual, 1% better each day. By the end of the year, I have accumulated a whole lot more than if I didn't care, or I was trying to make large leaps. And so just understanding that the process is what qualifies me for progress. The process is what qualifies me for progress. And so for me, understanding the process that I'm going through, that I've deliberately, intentionally decided that I'm going to put myself through, is what's going to qualify me for me to be the better individual that I desire to be. And so while I'm working through these things, these uncomfortable days, these frustrating days, these days where it seems like I love motion, and some days it seems like I don't have any motion. And so these are the days to start understanding that, listen, I'm not gonna quit. Um, my initials are RTC, and so the R is resilience, the T is tenacity, and the C is committed. And so I have to realize that for me to get to the end of my journey, I got to be tenacious, bro. I got to be tenacious, and it's all about. I was having a conversation with my wife the other day. It's like my thinking has changed because I had a cousin pass away, and her eulogy was last week. And so it got me thinking about life, and I started thinking about my dash. And so I wanted to make sure that by the time I get to the end of my dash, that I have become the individual that I feel that God has placed me on this earth to be. By the end of my dash, is for me to die depleted. By the end of my dash, I want to be able to say that I need to hear that, well done, thy good and faithful servant. And so
Yes,
I
sir.
want to be able to give God a return of investment of his investment in me, because the deposit that he's given in me, I need to be able to develop that, and that's my goal.
Wow, I've never heard it. Like, I'm gonna have to put a message together on that one. ROI on God's investment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fire. That's fire. Look, it's so crazy you just said what you said, but y'all see why I got Coach Cannon on here, right? Because resilience against the world. This man is full of resilience. He's teaching y'all how to be resilient. Would you agree that perfectionism, it blocks personal growth or personal development? And before you answer that question, I just want to say this. You said 1% better every day. At the end of the year, that's 365%, bro. That's gains on top of gains. But people don't see it that way because they don't care or they not counting. 1% better. That could be reading a page of a book. 1% better. So, like I said, do you agree with that? Perfectionism, it blocks people's personal growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Again, I feel that chasing perfectionism blocks your growth is because, number one, it's not something that you're ever going to attain.
Mm-hmm.
The next reason is because it also keeps you, I feel that it also keeps you from being thankful for where you are. Because if I'm always looking for something else, I'm not able to see where I'm at. I'm not able to. It's kind of like when you hear the old folks say, "Can't see the forest because of trees." And so when you're not, it keeps you from seeing exactly what needs to be seen. And so when you're trying to chase this perfectionism, your growth is not based off of being perfect. Your growth is based off of you being persistent.
That's a bar right there.
And when we switch that level of, I'm not trying to be perfect, I'm trying to be persistent. And what persistence is that I'm willing to fight through the adversity to keep showing up to get the job done. And
Yes, sir.
perfectionism has nothing to do with me fighting to be persistent. Perfection is attempting to be spotless and blameless, which I'm never going to be. And so if I
Nobody.
can work on me, keep showing up, I can accept me showing up. I can accept me showing up flawed. I can accept me showing up jacked up from the flow up, beat up from the knees up, need a checkup from the head up. Well, however way I show up, I can accept that.
I
But
was
as long
there
as
though.
you keep showing up,
I was there. Right. I was there though. I agree with you 100%. So look, how has your focus on progression helped you connect with others authentically?
oh, bro, that's so good. That's connected with the last thing you said. It helps me to realize people, when they see you and you perfect, it's a disqualifier. And a lot of times what I'm learning to embrace about me, the faults, flaws, and failures that I've had, what I felt were disqualifiers for me to be perfect, I'm not gonna get that. But when I start looking at persistence and progression, that perfectly qualifies me to be able to talk to anybody at any given time, bro. Because I done been there. I done been low. I done been I've been ant belly low, bro. I've been earthworm low to the ground. And so when I start looking at that, it helps me to form genuine, authentic connections with people. I don't have to search. I don't have to make anything up. I don't because it flows because I've been there. And matter of fact, I'm here now.
Right. And look, here's the funny part of what you just said. It's 100 because I had to learn that. I tried to button up and be somebody I wasn't, but I've lived life. Like I've lived it. When they say you've been around the block, I've been around the block a few times. It's probably when they say ain't nothing new in the sun, I probably done seen it all. That's where the raw report comes from because I tried to button up, but I couldn't connect with them people because I ain't get the degrees and the this and that, but I actually live life.
I
Now
live
you want
life.
to talk about that? I got something to tell you. So
Exactly.
that's why we on the raw report. That's why we got Coach Catanoia. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He's spot on.
Bro,
You got to be yourself.
facts. And when you are yourself and because you live like you said you've been around the block, watch this. The times we've been around the block can run circles around the degrees they got.
I pro- I'm talking about, and then come back around again because like that life experience, bro. I understand it now. Like I said, it took some coaching, like you said, to help me realize that because I was trying to button up and be somebody I wasn't. But when they was like, no, your experience. Wait a minute, you telling me that's valuable? Oh man, here come the raw report while we on here talking and we giving it the real because I can't sit here and play with y'all to sugarcoat it like it's something that's not. It's not that. But that piece that we talked about that surpasses all understanding, I got that now. And looking back, I'm telling y'all, come this way. This a bridge. I'm finna bridge y'all to God's way so we can help y'all get somewhere y'all need to be.
Facts.
What advice would you give someone that's struggling with their perfectionism and
Mhm.
can't progress because they're struggling with it?
Bro, I'm gonna stick in that vein that you was already in. And I think that number one, if you're struggling with your progression, if you're struggling with your professionalism and you want to make that mindset shift to progression, Coach said something really good. He was speaking about experience. And I think that your experience is what's going to qualify you for progression because exactly where you are, like I mentioned before, this is your starting point. The
Mm-hmm.
day you decide that you want to start this is a starting point so you can start seeing where the distance that you have came. The next thing is there's 4 E's. I like the four framework, bro.
Okay.
You have 4 E's. You have your experience, then you have your environment. And like you said, the environment that we're in, oftentimes the environments that we're in, either we choose to conform to the environment or we choose to form the environment to us. And sometimes we don't have that power to frame the environment for us. So we have to learn how to build ourselves and take out the environment, the good things, the things that we can use, and we spit out the bones. The next one is our education, the things that we've learned, whether scholastically or through the school of hard knocks.
Yes.
We sometimes those things can be barriers, and sometimes those are the things that can help us also. And so when we start peeling these layers back, what are these things that I can take from what have I learning through my education? And the last one is your expectation. What do you expect from yourself through your journey of progression? Where do you see yourself getting to? because the highest thing that you can have in your life is expectation. If you can expect good things coming to you, if you can expect good things coming out of you, if you can expect who you desire to be, that right there is fuel for progression. Because wherever I am now is not where I expect to be a few weeks later.
Mm. I hope y'all listening to that, Coach Cannon, because he giving out that. Hey, wherever I am now, I do not expect to be there. You say next week, tomorrow, the next day. I'm not, because wherever I am, 1% better.
I done changed.
And in them days you get 10% better, great, celebrate it. We still right back to 1% better, because now it's more than 365%. Now we had to probably squeeze about 500% out of this year. We doing major. So, hey, this interview has been great. I got some rapid fire questions, and then we'll do some call to action stuff. But if you don't mind, first thought that come to mind when I ask you these rapid fire questions. Is that good? You good with that?
Certainly.
What's one small improvement you're proud of this week?
One small improvement that I'm proud of this week. I've been able to focus.
Focus.
Focus is really key and powerful for me. Being able to focus and block
Progression
out my distractions.
Okay. And block out your distractions.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you said? Okay. Progression in one word.
That's dirty. Transformation.
A book, quote, or mentor that inspired your shift away from perfectionism.
Dr. Miles Monroe, Understanding Your Potential.
Yes, sir. That's a fire one. One thing that perfectionism can't taught you, even if it's something you had to unlearn.
No matter how hard you try, you're not going to get it.
Strive for excellence, y'all, not perfectionism. Progression. Journey or destination?
Lifelong journey.
Yes, sir. Man, when I was younger, my mom used to always say, you got to enjoy the journey. I'm like, what are you talking about? I got to get to this destination. I got to enjoy the journey. What are you talking about? But when I finally got it, bro, the journey is amazing, but you got to be present. If you're not present, you can't enjoy the journey. That's on us. We're going to miss a lot of stuff. Them small wins, because they're too small. You're looking for the big stuff. All right, so I got few questions to get you out, and then we go get out off the Raw Report, because this been a fire session right here. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed it like I am. What are 3 simple steps someone can take today to shift their mindset from perfectionism to progression?
That's good. And when you said that, the 3 simple steps, it remind me of the Japanese business philosophy called Kaizen. And what that is small changes create huge results at the end. And so the first thing that you can start doing today to start making that mindset shift, you got to have a plan. Well, let me back it up. You have to be aware. Awareness is the first thing to any type of change, any type of switch that you want to get to. You have to be aware. And when you start becoming aware, it is you seeing exactly where you are. No lies, no fluff, no bogusness. This is exactly where I am. And once you start becoming aware, the next thing you want to do, you want to start looking at the resources that you have. That's the next thing. What do you have around you? Who are the people that you can connect with? What are the things that you can start working towards? Once you start understanding, because we can have resources around us, but if we're not resourceful, we'll be blind to the resources. So we have to be aware, and we have to start being understanding what we have around us. And the next thing I feel is start making a plan. What direction am I choosing to start working towards? And so when we start doing that, those are the small, simple steps so we can start working towards making that shift.
That was good. That was real good. How can people identify when they're falling into a perfection trap and start to course correct?
That right there is a thinking question. I wish you'd have sent me that before the interview so I could think that one through a little bit
Okay.
longer. But
Hey,
how say that again?
how can people identify when they're falling into a perfection trap and start to course correct?
Okay. What I like about their terminology is you said trap. And so for me, I think for me is that when you can't escape, you're in a trap.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at traps and what they're designed to do, traps are designed to prevent motion. They're designed to prevent you from moving freely. And so anytime you realize that you're not moving towards where you want to be at, you're in that trap. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to start becoming aware and start figuring out what is around me and how can I get out of this trap. And so perfectionism is always going to keep you locked into this space right here. But when you're working towards progression, you're free, you're able to move, you're not limited. And so when you realize that right there, that's when we start making the adjustments to get out the trap.
Oh, that was fire. Oh, man, you got bars all up and down this interview. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Can you
Just doing the
share?
best you can with what I
No,
got,
no,
bro.
bro, you doing your thing, bro. I promise you, you doing your thing. Can you share a piece of advice for anyone afraid to take the first step toward progress
Mm,
because it won't be perfect? Because
mm.
they scared to take that first step toward progress because they know that they don't have enough time to get it perfect.
I know I'm butchering the quote, and I think it was Dr. King was saying about the steps. It just escaped me. But you don't have to have everything figured out to make the first step. When you start making steps, things begin to get clearer. And so it's not about you having everything worked out and figured out. It's being willing to make that step. Because when you are willing to make this step, it activates a level of faith in you. And when you start operating in faith, that's when things start working differently. And so that is, and I think that that's one of the things that stops a lot of people from making progress because they don't feel like they have everything worked out or they're not qualified or they don't have it all worked out. But the steps that you have for yourself is being confident and you knowing that you have the ability, that you have something inside of you that God has given inside of you to be able to lean and to activate and to work the principles.
I'm just gonna piggyback off what Coach Cannon said. Y'all already know what I tell y'all. Get off the porch. It don't even matter. Which pick a way and go. Get off the porch. Stop sitting there. Because if it's 3 years later and I roll back around and you still on the porch, you just talking. We not dealing with talkers no more. We getting off the porch. It don't matter. You don't even need to know which direction you go. Get off the porch. You can figure it out as you go. Exactly what he just said. So tell us, Coach Cannon. I thank you for coming on the Raw Report. But tell us where can they find you at? Give us your IGs, your everywhere we can find you. Please give it to us.
Absolutely. Well, first, I would like to say thank you for even extending the invitation to be a part of this. And I have thoroughly enjoyed the dialogue and the conversation. And every time we link up, bro, it's like iron. We sharpen each other and
Oh,
there be sparks flying.
without
So,
right, good stuff. That's good stuff. Oh, before you even tell them where we can find, well, tell us
go
where we
ahead.
can promote your book too, bro. Come on,
Okay,
man.
okay, all right.
Tell us
So
that
the
good stuff.
book. Okay, so I just emailed my editor. We're having to sit down. Matter of fact, tomorrow, if the weather permits, I have more edits to do. She's gonna holler at me about that. But my book is gonna be coming out. You guys stay tuned. It's gonna be probably quarter 2 before it comes out. But we're looking at the springtime. But the name of the book is called Committed. The mindset that fuel. Excuse me. Tap into the mindset that fuels progression. Committed. Tap into the mindset that fuels progression. You can find me on IG, on TikTok, and YouTube at CTPF Cannon. That's the letter CTPF Cannon. That is Charlie, Tango, Papa, Foxtrot, Cannon. And so that's on those social media sites, which is YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also find me on Facebook under Teron Cannon and Committed to Progressing Forward LLC.
Hey, that's good stuff. Hey, y'all see the military came out. He gave y'all
Phonetic.
Charlie. Hey. I'm telling y'all, hey, if y'all ain't tapped in with Coach Cannon, y'all better get tapped in ASAP because the man is giving out jewels. He's been through some things. He's trying to show y'all the way forward. So, like I said, if y'all need me to tap it, reach out to me. I can reach out to him for you. But y'all need to get in some of this stuff because he's giving out frameworks left and right. So I know you teaching them things. Hey, y'all already know what I like to tell y'all. Stay real, stay raw, stay grounded in your faith. Until the next time, y'all. I'm out.